Welcome to League One Fun, presented by the Beautiful Game Network and brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Golden Goal Press. Let's do that again.
Don't worry, I trip about it on my own show.
I know it happens all the time. All right, and no one's on the YouTube, so we're okay at the moment. All right, ready?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
In 3, 2. Welcome to League One Fun, presented by the Beautiful Game Network and brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Golden Goal Press. One more time.
Just let it go.
Take
Just
3.
let it go.
All right, here we go. Yeah, I'll just let it go this time. Okay, regardless what happens. I can't say press. I don't know why. 3.
Don't.
Go ahead.
Me up.
All right.
I said it
3.
messes me up all the time.
Yeah.
You're good.
Here we go. 3, 2. Welcome to League One Fun, presented by the Beautiful Game Network and brought to you by Roughneck Scarves and Golden Goal Press. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast app. I'm Ira Jersey, and with me tonight, we're rotating in Elliot from River City 93. Elliot, welcome back to League One Fun.
What's up, man? I want you to know it took you like 3 times to get Golden Goal Press. You got to figure out an easy way.
You had to say it. I could edit all that out. Come on. You let everyone know that I can't talk tonight. That's not a great way to start the show. So Elliot,
look, I mess up every time on my podcast.
So Elliot, River City 93 was on the road this week, and one of the interviews that I suggest that people go and listen to from your trip down to the peninsula was with Coach Bulow, and Coach Bulow, he said the right thing and told everyone that you were the podcast for USL League One, and that League One Fun, you gave him money.
He got to rip the. Nah, definitely not. I mean, I might have gave him some ribs and some Hennessy, but that's a totally different story. Nah. But no, I mean, he got to rip the whole team. You can't not just forget about the whole team podcast.
So those of you who haven't listened to it, please listen back to River City 93. Did some great interviews about USL League 2 team. Elliot, why don't you just give us a little preview of who you talked to in that podcast?
Yeah, so we went on the road for our friendly against Lionsbridge FC, who plays in USL League 2, which is league below, League One. We talked to the Friends of the Bridge, who is the supporters group. We also talked to Coach Christopher Wiley, who, interesting enough, is also the head coach for Chawan's men's soccer program down there. He coaches there from the fall, and then he comes up to coach Lionsbridge in the spring and summer.
I thought that was an incredibly interesting interview, by the way, that you guys did, because you don't realize that coaches need to coach year round, and if you love coaching so much that there's college coaches, that the thing that USL League 2 allows you to do is to do both, right? And so you're actually coaching most of the year.
Yeah, and then also the other thing too because I'm not gonna lie, I was ignorant about the situation. About how college soccer is. Granted, I never played it, but you always hear about there's no reason to have college soccer. It's pointless. Get rid of it. But then talking to an actual college coach who said, no, the college system is not perfect. And he didn't even downplay. He literally said it's not perfect, but he said it gives players an opportunity who, one, know that soccer, they can't make a career from it, but then it also gives players an opportunity to get to try different tactics and different forms. Because, if you're a player, you get signed by a team, you're pretty much in one system the whole time, unless you get called to the national side, things like that. But he said a lot of these players, when they play college and then they sign for a League 2 team, get the amateur status, which they're still trying to work that out with NCAA. But in his team alone, he has players from Campbell, I think one from Hofstra that's getting transferred to Maryland, another one from Georgetown, and in and around the Peninsula region. So it's just an interesting story about how, and a lot of his coaches are from different college programs. Like I think he has a coach from Army and another one from James Madison on his staff, and then they go back and then they scout. So it's kind of interesting to see. We also did interviews with Mike Vest, who is the owner of Lionsbridge FC. Of course, we did interviews with Joe Rice, who was the homecoming king. He got to play 60 minutes. I'm not gonna lie, that crowd loves him. And Lionsbridge, look, Amateur Hour Soccer did a podcast before us interviewing Lionsbridge, and those guys do a great job. Lionsbridge FC brings it because I'm not we were beating them 5-0 in the 85th minute, and it was still packed. There were still 2,000 people there. full out to the brim. So it's an interesting place to be, and I'm surprised there's not even a higher division soccer team in that region. For it to be such a hotbed in Virginia soccer.
Yeah, I've heard before that that USL was interested maybe in Newport News or something like that for either a League One or a championship team. So maybe in the future that can happen. That would make a nice rivalry for you guys for Richmond Kickers. But let's turn our attention now to USL League One. So the news this week is Cleat Week, which means that each team will have their own custom designed footwear for the games this upcoming weekend. You can go on the USL League One website and vote for your favorite, and you even rank all of them. So I did that. Elliot, have you done that yet? And if you did, besides the kickers at the top, who was your second favorite?
I'm laughing because I put kickers number one. I think.
Oh yeah, I know that you did.
No, I did because the ain't gonna lie, them cleats are fresh. To be honest with you, I was kind of disappointed in North Texas because I feel like there's a lot more you could have done with that shoe.
Oh, I agree. I agree. You know what I didn't like? I didn't like the ones with logos with the names on them. And North Texas was one of those that did, and it looked kind of cheesy, quite frankly. So.
Yeah. I mean, like the Richmond Kickers one has the Kickers logo, but there's so much more integrated into it. Like it puts the supporter on.
Well, there's not 4 words. It doesn't say Richmond Kickers Soccer Club, and
you can't possibly read. It just looks out of place. Greenville shoe I feel like could have been better.
Oh, Greenville's look like I even have a note in our show notes. Greenville boots look like mint candy canes.
Exactly.
I just want to lick them and. You know what? I really like the Lansing. I thought the Lansing design was really good. Anyway, that was my personal favorite.
Orlando Richmond City has some good cleats.
You like the OCB ones? Yeah,
I did because what they did with the logo was sweet. I think even on the bottom of it or somewhere it had like a logo or something, so that was kind of sweet.
Yeah, it was just Tucson, the logo. It wasn't too busy. Yeah.
Tucson I feel like could have been better.
Well, anyway, go on the website, and next week maybe we'll note who the winner of that particular fan vote is. But I don't want to say that this is expansion news. I want to say that this is expansion rumors coming out. So one of the rumors that hit the Twitter sphere was the New England Revolution potentially starting a USL League One team next year, somewhere a little bit unclear as to where. Some people want it in Providence, other people are saying maybe elsewhere. Obviously, some people say, they want the Revs to have a stadium in the city, like everyone probably does, but they won't. Another one that you noted, Elliot, was Queens, a potential USL League One team for NYCFC. We were talking about this before we started. I grew up on Long Island. I knew some people who played for the Long Island Rough Riders. Maybe NYCFC should consider going in there for the hostile takeover of the Rough Riders. It wouldn't be the first time that something like that happened, and maybe you can make that program really good.
Yeah, I mean, it would be smart to do. You already got established team there. Go in and take advantage of it. I mean, it would be cool to have a team in Queens, but I feel like there's other parts of New York that you can go to, like you said, Long Island. You can hit that. I feel like with the Revolution, if they're going to do USL 1, it would be cool if they did championship, but maybe not because you already had Hartford there already with Connecticut. Providence would be dope. Maybe even Delaware if you go down that far. I don't know if that's in that range.
Yeah, I wonder if so Wilmington would be far too close to Philadelphia, I think, but maybe if you went down toward Dover. I know that there's actually a big soccer park, and there's a lot of people who play down there. I don't know if there would be a decent ownership group down there, but the West Coast still doesn't have anything, right? So we're gonna have Omaha, obviously. We still will have Tucson, but it seems like there still has to be a lot of opportunity out west, like in maybe somewhere like Iowa, where there is a number of USL 2 teams. So maybe some of them their ownership groups will consider maybe self-promoting up to USL League One. But that's that news. North Carolina SC, excuse me, not North Carolina, North Texas SC signed on loan Richard Dosso, who is from the West Africa Football Academy in Ghana, and he's the same place as a player from your team, Elliot, came from. So another Ghanaian coming into the league. I think it's the West African, the Ghanaian Premier League actually isn't playing right now. They actually folded their season partway through. I don't know what the status is and if they're going to try and play again starting in the fall. But obviously some players want to play, and how's your person from the from Wafa Academy in Ghana worked out so far?
Well, I mean, considering that the kickers have not been not the best, but I mean, he's had big performances. Definitely the Virginia United game. I believe he scored four. He scored four in our U.S. Open Cup game. He's a very young player. I think he is 17 or 18 years old, so very young, very raw. But you can see he has talent. I think he's learning how to play the position that fits best for him. Either he wants to be a striker or a winger. I think he's still trying to learn, how to exploit space and things like that. You can see the talent. Um, it's kind of hard to scout players from Ghana because there's not a lot of news coming out of there of knowing how well these players are and even if they can meet the level. But I think it's a good proving ground to come into USL League One and to see how they're going to do.
All right. And, I think some other news that's worthy of talking about is a little bit about attendance figures so far. So we had some pretty nice attendance this weekend. I think, summer rolled around, a lot of people looking for things to do in the weekends that are pretty cost effective and fun times. You had both Madison and Lansing with over 4,000 fans this weekend. Richmond, unfortunately, in their loss that we'll get to a little bit later, but that you guys had 3,300 folks out there. Section O, again, really loud. Averaging this season so far, we had Madison has averaged over 4,100 fans per match, per home match. Richmond 3,455, Lansing 2,800, Greenville 2,500, Chattanooga 2,200, and then you get down toward Tormenta at 1,800 and FC Tucson at 1,200. And I won't talk about the other two teams that only have under 1,000 per match and even in the hundreds. So follow Mike Pendleton at Fat PHAT 7 Deuce. That's PHAT 7 DEUCE to get these attendance figures. It's pretty cool. He puts it out, similar to how I do the points per game ranking. He puts out attendance numbers not only for USL League One, but also for USL Championship. So far, Madison has had 29,000 fans come through their gates. The Kickers have had 27,000 and Lansing almost 23,000. So, that's decent numbers coming to cheer on local soccer. And then finally, in a little bit of news, is Rafa Menzigen was named the Player of the Week for Lansing Ignite. He had a goal and 2 assists in 2 matches, and we'll highlight some of those in the not too distant future. Was there anyone else that would have been on your short list this week, do you think, Elliot, for Player of the Week?
No, I think Rafa deserved it. Didn't Cleveland get Player of the Month?
Cleveland, I mentioned that last week. Cleveland got Player of the Month for June. So we're
June? Okay.
yeah. So I know they only, I think, today received their little plaques for receiving that. So let's go on to Week 16 results. I just want to revisit something that I did mention last week on the show, and that was the Lansing Ignite versus Madison match that happened on Tuesday. We briefly talked about it, but Elliot, I know that you've seen the last 7 minutes of this match. Any thoughts about it? A week later now, we're talking about, Menzigen's goal in the 92nd minute. That was one where he took off his shirt, took a yellow card, thought he had just scored the winner. And then JC Banks, just the 90 seconds later, comes back and gets, winds up being a cross from Paolo Jr., and Cleveland's not able to hold on to it, and JC Banks is there for the tap in. And then on the other side, another minute later, Bruce gets a ball from Menzigen, a deep pass that Bruce kind of gets a lucky touch, but he's able to run onto it and in stride with his left, and then finishes it with his right, which was definitely definitely an amazing way to end that particular match. You have any thoughts about this match? And if so, what are they?
Whew. First of all, outside of Ford and Chattanooga, and I think we talked about on Twitter, like having the best derby just for off the field stuff. I feel like Lansing and Madison is going to be the best derby on the field just because of JC Banks' celebration. Like the man literally scored and wiped his hand with the team flag. Like that's
Yeah, and that flag had the logo on it.
yeah, top. Mm, perfect banter. But I mean, unfortunately, you let up a goal in the last minute of the game. No, like I feel like this is the goal. This is the game that should be one game of the year, and then also this should be the game that if USL is going into like these small markets to be like, you can have this, and they just show like the last 3 minutes to any and everyone. Like it was, it was top notch. Like it was a great game, full of excitement, and you could just see like the pure passion from the players as it went on. Like I mean, it's not really much to say. It's the best game of the year. It probably will be the game of the year.
Yeah, so some people have been talking about Madison and Lansing being rivals. I think it's games like this that turn them into rivals, right? Like this is where rivalries are built, is games like this.
Oh yeah, yeah, most definitely. Like it, you need in order for it to be a rivalry, you need to have like the controversial moments, those moments where the fans just feel like, yo, we cannot stand that player. Like I'm pretty sure the next time Ford plays in Lansing and JC Banks is on the field, I feel like, you know, the assembly line is gonna have like some choice words for JC
There's
Banks.
got to be some kind of tifo, right?
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I feel like Ford will have the same thing. Like I mean, granted, they are both regional rivals, and I feel like that's what USL wanted was the regional rivalry to work out. But this, it was perfect, man.
Yeah. All right, and moving on to games that we didn't talk about on last week's show, let's go to Friday at 4 p.m. Again, another daytime game. We talked about this with Jason not so long ago, but Toronto Football Club 2 scored 3 goals against South Georgia Tormenta. That's 2 losses in a row for South Georgia Tormenta. Not something that has happened all season. This was only their second and third loss of the year. You had goals in the 28th minute by Matthew Serbley, who Dorsey crossed the ball in from the wide area. Serbley was on the left-hand side. He was making a nice run. Josh Phelps got over to him, and I think Josh thought that he had won the ball and cleared it, but he got really unlucky, and the ball bounced off of him and right at the feet of Serbley, who then finished it. It was really quite a nice run from Serbley, but Josh Phelps got very unlucky there that the ball didn't get cleared from Serbley's feet. In the 38th minute, Jordan Perusa scores from Jaden Nelson. So Okello wins the ball after pressuring at midfield. Nelson then hits a nice through ball to an on-running Perusa. There was an offside shout, but of course the flag did not go up. It was really hard to tell from the camera angle where exactly Perusa was when the ball was played, and where also all 3 players on the back line of South Georgia Tormenta were. Either way, I think it was really close, so I think you have to give the refs the benefit of the doubt. But that left Perusa one-on-one with the keeper, and he just doesn't miss those at all. So Perusa with another one.
No.
Patrick Bunk Anderson finishes things off in the 78th minute. It's a set piece from about 40 yards out. No one from Tormenta followed the run of Bunk Anderson, and he was able to put away a nice cross from Griffin Dorsey from, like I said, 40 yards out at the back post, and Bunk Anderson finished it with his feet, by the way. It was not a classic Patrick Bunk Anderson header. It was all with his feet. Tormenta did have some dangerous chances here. They could easily have gotten a goal or two. A couple of losses in a row. So one of the questions that we had later, maybe we should actually answer here. So one of the fan questions that we got was, is this a slide for South Georgia Tormenta, or just or should people be worried? So the actual question is, should Tormenta be concerned, or is this just a rough patch? Elliot, do you have any thoughts on that?
I was going to ask you the same thing. I do think Tormenta should be worried a little bit because, Tormenta has been top of the league, second place for a long time. To go up to Toronto, I don't know if it was midweek, but they did catch them off guard. I do think it might be a slide for them. I can see them possibly falling out of second, maybe even third place, and being that borderline fourth place team if they don't get things corrected. One worrying sign for me is the lack of creativity. I mean, they create chances, but do they create enough chances?
Yeah, their
and our
defense.
team's starting to
That's a
catch on
very
to
good.
what they're doing.
I think that's a very good point because their defense had really been what kept them in a lot of games where they were winning games, 1-0, 2-1. So it wasn't like they have blown out a lot of teams. So they really do have to start making more chances. And in fairness, in this game, Fillion made the goalkeeper for Toronto made a few great saves. And in fact, in the 60th minute, Micheletto had one that he was put through, and Fillion made a great save. And then there was also another one-on-one later when Fillion just made himself big and was able to make the nice save. So, quite frankly, if Fillion didn't stand on his head, this could have maybe been a 2-2 match, because obviously that changes things if there's a goal or two, and TFC wouldn't be pressing, right? You end up playing much more offensive when it's 2-0 than when you do when it's 2-1, right? You don't want to give up that lead again, so you maybe are willing to absorb a little bit more pressure.
And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like Toronto at home is a totally different team than Toronto's on the road. It's a totally different team, and I don't know if South Georgia fell into that trap, but they have everything there. I think they rely, like we made the point, they rely a lot on their defense. They're a great defensive squad, so they haven't been forced offensively to create a lot of chances, and a lot of bricks have gone their way. Hopefully this week they can get out of it, get out of the funk, but we'll see.
Well, something that I think they're certainly going to be hoping for. I think the other thing that's happened too, quite frankly, is that now that there's enough tape on how South Georgia plays, I think that's something that some teams are taking advantage of and looking for some of those seams to get into. And I think on Perusa's goal in particular, you kind of saw that if he was able to get in the seam between the right center back and the center back, he knew that he could probably beat them for pace, and that's exactly what happened. Moving on to another match. Let's go on to Saturday. We had Greenville triumph, scored 1 against Orlando City B, another loss for Orlando City. We'll talk a little bit about their form. It's form that's just as bad as your team, Elliot. So there was a very long rain delay in about the 20th minute. But there was a little bit of a foul in the box in the 18th minute. Jake Keegan steps up and his PK is saved. So Jake Keegan, he put it on a platter. It was not a great PK, in all honesty. The ball was about midway up on the left hand side. Herrera guessed right. Had Herrera obviously dove the other way, then it would have been a goal. But he was able to guess correctly, and he was able to get his right hand on the ball and save and put it out for a corner. But Aaron Walker did break through in the 88th minute. Christopher Bermudez was given the assist. Bermudez came on as a sub. He's been coming on as an impact sub, and there's a question about him a little bit later that we'll get to. But the way that this goal happened is the ball was on the left-hand side. There was a cross that came in that was blocked. Bermudez kind of gets the ball and flicks it over while he's getting fouled, and he ends up on the ground. The ball drops to Walker, who just shoots from the top of the D, a long range shot. One thing that Greenville hasn't done much of, and that's take a lot of long range shots. This one did. I think, and Elliot, help me out here, because I think Christian Herrera maybe saw this late. Like, I don't really understand why he didn't dive. It seemed like it wasn't that far away from him, really. So either he was wrong footed, I guess, or he just saw it late. Do you have any? What are your thoughts on that goal?
Well, as an amateur goalkeeper, Ira, I have the perfect analysis. It's someone who gives up a bunch of easy goals.
Well, you and Jason.
No, I think he really just anticipates the shot wrong. I think he expects it to go in one direction and all of his momentum going that way, and then when he sees it and realizes like, oh, it's going the other direction, it's too little, too late. There's nothing really as a goalkeeper he could have done. If you're going left and the ball's going right, there's no way you can get there. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like that rain delay. I know we're kind of going off topic. I feel like that rain delay came in the perfect moment for Greenville because after they missed the PK, the rain delay happened. I think they kind of settled everyone down, because how many times have we seen teams kind of just been like, "Oh, we missed the PK, we got to hurry up and rush," and they kind of just settled them down. Granted, they didn't score again to the 88th minute, but it would have been very easy for them to been panicking and Orlando City beat to counter them and score on them. So
Yeah.
they had God on their side.
I think it was a little, it was a typical Greenville game in that they had a fair amount of the ball. They had 58% possession. They did try 22 crosses. They did connect on 4 of them. And they had 4 shots on target, so they were getting the ball up, and the way that I think Greenville really won the battle in the midfield. So Greenville, and that's one of the reasons why they had a lot of the ball. OCB was looking to possess, but Greenville really made it uncomfortable for them to do that. But even when they got the ball, they weren't particularly dangerous, and Greenville had to do better. And it was kind of weird to me because watching the first 20 minutes of the game, you had a decent crowd. It was pretty loud. Everyone knew weather might come. The weather came, and then afterward, there was hardly anyone in the crowd. I don't know if there were more than a handful of people on the far side, and on the near side, maybe there were. You could hear a little bit of cheering, but it couldn't have been more than a couple of dozen people, which was very unfortunate because
it's not enough ultras in the crowd.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Taking off their shirts and So I do think that Greenville deserved this win, quite frankly, because I think they outplayed OCB. But at the same time, I still think that they're going back to having their problem scoring. But they get the 3 points at home, and that's what's important right now in this league.
Hey, it is. I feel like that's what Hearts wants to do. Like, it's just whatever it takes, get the game over. We get the 1-0 win. Let's keep moving forward. And that's what he did.
Fair enough. Anything else on this game, Elliot?
Nope.
Okay. So moving on to a game, Lansing's second game of the week, Lansing Ignite 2 versus FC Tucson, also 2. This one we got to talk about a little bit, Elliot. There was a little bit of controversy in this one. So let me quickly go through the goals.
Anytime Lance is involved.
Maybe that's possible. So, the Capital Combustion guys seem to think that, maybe there's an unspoken conspiracy going on or something against them, officiating wise and stuff. So, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Robinson Moshabane scores in the 26th minute off a penalty kick. He was taken down by Howell. It was a little bit soft, but definitely I would have called it a foul personally. And a foul in the box gives you a pen, and it was a very nice, a nice PK taken into the upper left corner. But then Ramon Howell makes up for it because in the 34th minute, there's a bad giveaway by Koifik in the middle of the field. He tries to force a pass. I don't know who he was trying to aim for. You can't quite see it that well on the ESPN Plus broadcast, but he was able to it was taken intercepted. Howell takes a long touch between 2 defenders and then runs onto it. It's like something you see sometimes in like a U10 soccer game where someone just like kicks the ball past a couple of players and then runs because they're the fastest player on the field. So Howell just makes a crazy run, catches up to the ball, shoots low, and it does go through Cleveland's legs. So, I'm still going to call it a Meg, and the ball winds up in the back of the net. So I don't know. Did you see this goal, Elliot? Have you seen this one?
I didn't see it personally, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically someone has to step in front of Howell. But I think the worry is if you're a defender, like one of those 2 defenders that gets split by that kind of touch between them, is if you foul him there, it might be dogso, right? It might be a denial of a goal scoring opportunity, and if it is, then you end up with getting a red card, and that leaves your team.
Yeah, so it's like, as a defender, you're caught in a catch-22. Like, do I foul him and possibly not get a red card, or do I let him go and hope for the best?
Yeah, and quite frankly, Cleveland had cut down the angle and got kind of unlucky to get megged on that one.
Yeah,
yeah. So then, but
that's the second week in a row he's got it megged, right?
Is it the second? Yeah, I guess it's the second time in 3 games. I think. Yeah. So I think that's right.
It's kind of big.
Yeah. I mean, you make yourself big, and that happens. It happens a lot. Like my son and I were watching a bunch of games, and it happens a lot in the Premier League. It happens just about everywhere.
Oh no, the famous game was with Thibaut Courtois, because remember he got nutmegged like 3 times against Messi. Like Messi, I mean, granted it's Messi, but he got nutmegged 3 times.
yeah. You did that in one game. Dude, it's not very good. So Moshe Bane scores again in the 49th minute. Another assist from Menzigen. Koifik hit a great direct over ball. So this ball actually starts next to the Lansing 18-yard box, and Koifik just hits a beautiful 60-yard, maybe 70-yard, what the Total Soccer Show guys would call a direct over ball to Menzigen, who's running onto it, and the ball just like lands. It's almost like one of those, one of those football plays, Elliot, where the receiver's just running and like takes it in stride. That's what that looked like to me. I mean, I'm sure it's not exactly practiced that way, but it totally looked like that. And then Menzigen
hey, look. Yeah. That boy has some pace on him. Because I'm watching, I'm like, where's the defense? Like, he literally just ran a 9 route, and the whole defense was just like, no, he's going to be outside. And I don't, like, he literally caught it in stride, scored, and just like, Lord Jesus, wasn't nobody catching him on that play.
Yeah, so Menzigen gets the ball. He winds up at the corner of the other 18, cuts the ball back, and he hits Moshe Bane, who's making a late run into space that was vacated by Jones, because Jones was making a near post run in case Menzigen actually just squared the ball over to him or did like a low hard cross. But quite frankly, Menzigen makes the better choice and gets it back to Moshe Bane, who takes one really deft touch with his left foot, shifts his body, like actually turns his body about 45 degrees, and then hits his curling left-footed shot and hits side netting. It was a thing of beauty. We can talk a little bit about that, but Moshe really impressed me in this game. And then let's go for some controversy here. Jordan Jones scores a penalty kick. So this was a handball that was called. There was a cross that came in from the right, and 2 players went up for the ball. And the ball, if it hit a hand, it looks actually like it would have been the Tucson player's hand, not one of the Lansing players' hands. And apparently Nate Miller was apparently right next to the 4th official, who said, hey, that did not hit off the Lansing fan, the Lansing's hand, and the referee did not change the call and stayed with the penalty kick. Jordan Jones takes the kick. It's a fine pen. It winds up. It's I think it might be hard to see in real time, but at the same time, what do we think about this? Do we think the refereeing is really that bad in this league that we can't? I mean, this was a game-changing incident, right? This was 2 points.
Yeah, definitely
2 points lost because of this one incident.
Okay. I need to know this information first before I start this rant. Are the referees in this league, are they full-time or part-time?
So that's a good question. So they are assigned by pro, so they're assigned by the Professional Referee Organization. This is something that actually we should probably do for the Beautiful Game Network. Someone named Ira Jersey should probably do some research on and find out how the referee pool is made, because one of the things is that with all the expansion, with a lot of championship teams, with NWSL, with USL League One, the need for more referees is very high. And I think one of the things that happens is it's hard to train referees on a regular basis. You can't just say, hey, we suddenly need 25 new referees who can referee at the professional level.
Sound like you can make that same argument for putting coaching badges at a reasonable level and then expanding them, to the urban community. I sound like a conspiracy theorist, but hey, whatever.
It is. I mean, it is difficult. Honestly, it is, quite frankly, it is difficult to get to that level. So just for some color, I am a youth referee. I've coached hundreds of matches in order to move up to the next level. Now they are changing what they call this. They're going to call it grassroots referees versus others. But I do U18 games. I've refereed U19 games, and those are professional, right? These are college kind of age kids, and you have to be really fit in order to referee those matches. So there's fitness, but then there's also kind of maturity and knowledge. And if you're trying to build referees, you still have a long window. There's very few referees who are 50 something years old, because you can't keep up with the play as you get older. I mean, it's kind of like how, players basically don't play past 35 at a professional level for the most part.
Yeah, I think in Champions League, doesn't in Champions League they have a rule? Is it the Champions League or FIFA for the World Cup? Like once you hit the age of 40 or 45, like you can no longer referee because of like you said, the fitness.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure
which one it is.
I'm
I
not
think it's
sure if
one of
that.
the two.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's an age restriction. There are when you get up to the better levels, what they call regional referees and things like that.
Yeah.
There are fitness tests that you have to pass. So you have to do shuttle runs. You have to do a distance test. So you have to pass fitness tests, and those get harder obviously as you go up more. And they have camps. I mean, people don't realize this, but referees when they have a preseason. So in January they all get together and they do fitness just like the players do. And they have practice games and they referee the preseason games that MLS teams and other teams play in. So there is a preseason for them. And my feeling is that the referees will get better. It's just a matter of how much time it will take, and will these referees stay with it? Because if they're criticized so much for calling the game that they see, will they come back? So anyway, go on with your rant, Elliot. Please. This is a First Amendment country. So
once again, extra point. Yeah, I would say this: if we're using VAR at MLS, we need to bring VAR to USL Championship, League One, and League Two. It needs to happen. We have the ability. If you're able to have ESPN Plus set up at all these USL stadiums and whatnot, there's no reason why we can't have VAR. Now, is VAR perfect? Will it solve everything? No. You're still gonna have human error. I mean, case in point, you saw it in your game, the New York Red Bulls and NYCFC game. Granted, I totally believe that was the right call, but, does VAR help? Yes. I think these refs I don't believe there's enough resources to make refs the best that they can be. And it's the same problem, like, for example, like the NFL. Like, I think it was maybe 2-3 years ago where the NFL refs were just completely horrible. But then they started talking about making them full-time and having these guys like, this is your sole job. Now, can USL do that? No. But increase the pay, try to get better refs, increase the pool of referees might help out.
Yeah, it's
I think if you give refs every tool possible to make the right call, 9 times out of 10, they will make the right call.
It's an interesting idea because, the thing about VAR is you could actually have more experienced refs be in the VAR booth as well, right? And help them. I mean, I think that the only thing with that is that for USL League One, you need more cameras, and you need at least 2 or 3 people in the VAR booth so you can do the video editing and things like that. But, it is probably something that at some point should probably be tried out. I mean, especially since USL was the first place they tried VAR, right? We were the, USL what's now USL Championship was the test case for video assisted
referees. I think it was Richmond in New York, matter of fact, that was the first game to have VAR. And I think I can't remember how they did it, but it's not hard. Like if you have all of these guys commentating the game out of the ESPN office, how hard is it to set up a VAR office for USL and Championship where you just have 3 or 4 refs watching?
Actually, that's a great idea and a good point, because that's exactly how the Bundesliga does it. So, in MLS, most of the time the VAR is on site, but I believe in the Bundesliga, they have like a central location where all of the VARs live. That's a really interesting idea. So one more note about this game.
About these refs being compromised.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, especially for a game-changing incident like that one, right? So you can say, this was a clear and obvious error or not. So in this game, tactically, I wanted to mention one other thing. So this is from the Lansing side. So Koifik actually stayed home in this one. So Koifik generally, he or Nick Moon would often run the sidelines, but in this particular game, Koifik stayed home, and he was rarely in the offensive half of the field. So if you go to USL League One and this match, and you look at the You look at the heat map for them. Nick Moon's running up and down the whole left side, but Koific rarely goes into the offensive half. He has 78 passes, 85% passing accuracy. And I think what happened here, and this was the interesting thing that Coach Nate Miller did, was I think he wanted Koific to cover Devin Jamga because I think he just wanted to stop the counterattack, wanted to stop Jamga from getting in behind. And it seemed to me like he did Koific by not going up and vacating that space and letting Devin run in behind, he was able to do that. And because Koific was there too, he also opened a lot of space for Mensigan to create further up the field. So I think that was a pretty interesting tactical thing. So if you go back and you watch this game, which was I mean, even though there was controversy, I thought it was a pretty good match overall. Look out for that. Just watch what Kevin Koific is doing during a lot of this match. Moving on to the one that you don't want to talk about, Elliot. So we can keep it short if you want, or you can feel free to. I am a shoulder. Consider me your sounding board. But the Richmond Kickers hosted North Texas, and North Texas scored 2, while the Kickers were not able to get on the board. The first goal in the 11th minute by Thomas Roberts. Interesting on this one. I've rewatched this goal, I don't know, 10 times probably. And Ronaldo Damas is credited with the assist, but the assist should have been given to Ricardo Pepi. So if USL headquarters, you're listening, you might want to update your records because I'm pretty sure Damas did not actually touch the ball. Ricardo Pepi, Damas did have the ball. He winds up passing it to Pepi, who's back from his spell with the first team. And Pepi tries to get it back to Damas for a given goal, but Damas actually misses it. And the ball winds up on the foot of Thomas Roberts, who interestingly was noted as a defender, but really played much more as a number 6 in this game, more of a holding midfielder. And he basically makes a little bit of a run. He faces up like he's going to pass it maybe through to an on-running Ronaldo Damas, but instead he actually takes a shot. And Elliot, you guys noted that Akira Fitzgerald on your podcast was off the line on the 6. I think he was thinking that he was going to try and post up or get ready for a one-on-one, but the ball just curled around him. And then just a couple of minutes. Yeah.
Oh no, you can go and finish.
Oh yeah, I was just going to finish with the goal and then ask you your thoughts on the game, and then you guys miss another one on a set piece. So I looked at the stats. You guys have, I think, the most goals against on set pieces. And Arturo Rodriguez takes a corner. Callum Montgomery makes a little bit of a run to the near post, flicks it on, and goes over the head of the defender covering the near post. So it was a pretty nice header, but pretty unlucky there. Otherwise, you guys had a few chances, and you had 2 really, really good chances actually later in the game, but just could not break through. Elliot, you're briefly on your feelings on this game.
I think seeing the Lionsbridge game, I saw a lot in this game of what Beulah is trying to implement. I do think we got the formation, however, wrong. I still don't understand why we put Bodok, who hasn't played a game. I think he's missed the last 4. We put him at right back, where Lockerbie has been arguably one of the best players at the right back position in this league. On the first goal, you could definitely tell that Akira got caught off his line. And like you made a point about it, he might be trying to play the one-on-one, but you could just tell he just got stuck. And Thomas Roberts, granted credit to him, he takes advantage of the situation and puts a well-placed ball in. I think if you took the first 20 minutes, talks about, it really shows a lot of the problems wrong with the Kickers right now. Mentality, first 10 minutes or so, we had a great plan, and then we get punched in the mouth in 3 minutes, and it's kind of like the air just get took out of our sails. 32nd minute, they do a hydration break. We bring on Key White, who just got signed 2 days before that, and we look like a totally different team. I mean, granted, we can create chances, but the midfield for us seems to be our worst part right now. And it's kind of like the same thing in American football. If you don't have a great quarterback, you're normally not going to be a good team. And the Kickers right now, midfield, that seems to be like our biggest weakness, and because we get overran. I think we were playing like a 4-1-4-1 formation where Maxey was like the lone person in the midfield at some points, where North Texas had 3-4 people around him. You know, Maxie can only put out so many fires before eventually the whole house is going to burn down.
So something that didn't quite happen in this game, but in other games, Jason and I had noted in the past, is you guys do have really good build-up and wind up having control of a lot of the ball, but then you end up, not being able to do a lot with it in the final third. But there were a couple of moments of brilliance in this game. The Lockerbie chance was quite nice. Like the combination for that chance was really, really good. And the fact that he was able to get it on his left foot after a little quick give and go was pretty impressive. So, do you think for the kickers, it is that style, or is it just that they don't take chances like that enough, right? So, I mean, which is it? Is it style, or because when you look at the possession stats, the like this game was an interesting example of it. When you look at the possession stats, you're about 50-50 in each in the offensive third. So each team had the ball the same amount in the offensive third. But North Texas gets 2 goals, and you guys don't. And it seems to me like you guys sometimes try and go too direct. Like Joe Gallardo seems like a good player, but he sometimes on the ball too long, right? So like you said, he's not the quarterback that you guys need.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm actually going to go look at the USL stats before we did the podcast. And Joe Gallardo is in the top 20 for Richmond kickers for shots and shots on goal, which is a good thing and also a bad thing. When we're winning games, it's great that Joe Gallardo, takes over a game, but he doesn't have enough help, unfortunately. Lockerbie probably had our best chance. I feel like if that goes going at the 50th minute, it's a totally different game because North Texas, outside of maybe 1 or 2 chances, really didn't create as much as they did the first game.
Yeah, I mean, just put it this way: they had 3 shots on goal, and they scored 2 of them, right? So
yeah, exactly.
They had 1 chance outside of the goals.
And I don't know, man. It's just so weird about the kickers right now because it's like we can create the chances, but we could get right there in front of their final 18. I mean, like in Wape, for instance, had an excellent chance in front of goal. And if the mentality is better, if we're not stuck in our own head, I feel like Wape finished that chance. But he overthinks it and takes an extra touch in the box and gets it blocked. So we need someone else in the kicker. I think the main thing that Beulah has to do is figure out the lineup. And definitely a formation change going from the 4-1-4-1. He probably has to switch to a 4-3-3 or possibly even going back to the 4-2-3-1 to get Maxi some help. That's why I feel like we got our best chances at.
Well, going up against the number 1 and number 2 goal scorers in the league is not fun either, right? So Ricardo Pepi and Ronaldo Damitz both on the field.
Yeah. Also, I have a bone to pick with North Texas. Why did they decide this game? I mean, granted, Richmond isn't great, but why did they choose this game to bring Pepi back? Like he's been all playing USL OP Cup, starting MLS matches, and then they're like, you know what? We're gonna send him back to USL League One. Like, why? Why us? Like, why us? Send that man. Send him to San Antonio. Austin Bowl, send him somewhere else. He's too good for
even better, get Matt Spear to call up Dan Hunt and see if maybe he'll loan him for the rest of the season to you guys. As long as you don't, because you guys don't play him anymore, I don't think. Do you? You guys haven't you guys played North Texas?
No, we have one more game.
Oh, you do.
One more game, but it's in September. But they're probably going to send the whole Dallas A team down for that game and be like, hey, you guys, get some playing time against the kickers.
Well. Well, hopefully that won't happen.
No, but this is the other thing. It's weird. Real quick, this is the 3rd time we played a team where they brought in a new player. FC Tucson brought in the kid from LAFC, the center back. Chattanooga brought in their lone player from El Paso, and now North Texas. Like, I don't know if we're just a picking team. They just like go here and play out the practice players with.
I don't know, but that does seem kind of weird. I don't know if that's happened to any other team. It's definitely happened to every team that I think Forward Madison's played because they brought in a whole bunch of new players at different times.
Yeah, I can't even keep up with Madison's squad, half the time.
Yeah. So speaking about Madison, so also on Saturday, Forward Madison played home to Chattanooga Red Wolves, and forward Madison scored 1 goal to Chattanooga Red Wolves 1 goal. The first goal happened in the 20th minute. Connor Tobin scored from Danny Tenorio. Tenorio took a driven corner that went right to the top of the 6, and Connor Tobin made a run into the box and was able to basically out-jump the other defenders and flick it. It actually hit the inside of the far post. It looked like a pretty nice rehearsed set piece to me. The other one was in the late in the game, in the 77th minute. Zagoro came on the field, and Zagoro looked like a beast. Actually, he made cross after cross. It seemed very dangerous to me. But another Ghanaian. So we're talking about our third Ghanaian of the night here, Nicholas Amponsa. I did get the phonetics. I'm trying to do better with my pronunciation, by the way, everyone. So just so you know, I do have my phonetic spelling, but I'm not good at reading them either. But Nicholas Amponsa.
You're better than me. That's a good thing. You're better than me.
So Nicholas Amponsa scores. So what happened with this one was there was a corner taken by Zagoro. The ball ends up being cleared out, but it ends up back with Zagoro on the left-hand side. Zagoro then crosses it back in, and Amponsa was making this far run. He must have been about on the 18, but runs into the 6 and beats his defender from the inside. He's able to make a diving header. It was pretty acrobatic, nice diving header. He beat the defender to the inside and was able to stay ahead of him. There was a little bit of a shout for a push or something. I don't think it was. I think both of them were, kind of going for the ball, and if anything, probably Amponsa was pushed, but he made it in. Madison did look a little bit more dangerous in this game to me, and they had several good chances. The best chance for Chattanooga, other than the goal, occurred just a couple of minutes before the ultimate tying goal, but it was Zagoro again. Zagoro wound up with a driven cross, dribbles to the end line, gets a driven cross into Beatty, but Connor Tobin's there to clear it away. Nicholas Amponsa also made a goal line clearance in the game, but my man of the match, quite frankly, was Mangles again. I mean, Mangles, the goalkeeper for Chattanooga Red Wolves, again made several acrobatic stops, and given the fact that you had a significant number of corners, you had 4 shots on target, he made 3 saves, was pretty impressive, quite frankly, for me. Elliot, did you have any thoughts on this particular match?
I mean, we were talking about it earlier. This is definitely the oddest rivalry in USL League One. If you would have asked anyone at the beginning of the year, what 2 teams do you think would be potential rivals? I don't think anyone would pick Forward in Chattanooga. But granted, it was a good game on the field, but just watching the stands and seeing them on social media, I don't know what it is, but Forward has it out for Chattanooga, and Chattanooga has it out for Forward. Madison is oddly one of the most surprising teams of this year because they were having their early struggles. And they've been one of the hotter teams. And definitely Chattanooga has been one of the hotter teams. I do think Chattanooga, some of their old traits started to show up, almost like Greenville. I think they were struggling offensively. Because
Forward also had a lot of away games early in the year as well. So yeah. I think one of the reasons why their form's been better is they've had a lot of home games. Recently.
I mean, definitely. I mean, playing in front of that crowd, the energy, the atmosphere is the best in the league. I mean, you see I'm stuttering to say that as a kicker fan, but it is. It's one of the best soccer atmospheres in US soccer. But yeah, you can just tell they're a different team at home. But back to the point about Chattanooga, I feel like they were just struggling offensively to create. I feel like they're like Lancet at the beginning of the year, how Lancet was counterattacking. And if they could go in a straight direction at you, they are hard to stop. But once you make Chattanooga slow down and have to think on the ball and try to create, they struggle at that. And I feel like that's what Forward did a lot to them, was just pretty much take control of the midfield and just put a stronghold to force Chattanooga out to the wings, where they're not the quickest team, and then they have to create. And that's not Chattanooga's strong suit. But yeah, Mangles definitely, we've made the point again and again, and we will keep making the point. If Chattanooga does not have Mangles, they are not a top team.
No, this easily could have been 3-1 to Forward. Yeah, easily, if it wasn't for Mangles.
Yeah.
For sure. So, previewing Week 17 on Friday again at 4 o'clock, we have TFC2 hosts Lansing Ignite, another, I guess you would call it regional derby, if you will. On Saturday, Greenville Triumph host the FC Tucson, and North Texas SC hosts South Georgia Tormenta, and then finally not quite finally, but Richmond Kickers, you guys host OCB. Better
In
beat
the
OCB.
last place, in the number 1 draft pick derby.
Yeah, that's right. And then actually on Wednesday the 24th, there's the first game of Week 18. That's OCB hosting South Georgia Tormenta. So I don't know. We could probably figure out what highway goes down there, and that's some kind of derby. But the one I think we need to talk about a little bit here are the teams that are 1 and 2 in the table playing each other. So North Texas versus South Georgia Tormenta. Like we mentioned, South Georgia Tormenta's lost 2 in a row. They've only lost 3 games all season, but 2 of them were the last couple of weeks. North Texas, obviously one of the obviously the cream of the crop, quite frankly. What do we, what can South Georgia Tormenta do in order to stop this very potent attack of North Texas?
I'm trying to think because we had no success against them. I think the best example is what you have to do against North Texas is pretty much you're pretty much going to have to slow the game down. Like you are going to have to play that game where you're getting cheap fouls, you slow the game down, you don't let North Texas to get into a rhythm. You almost gonna have to do like the bad boys Piston rules of like the Jordan rules. Like I feel like you have to do it against North Texas. Like you have to, if you tell one of your defenders like, "Hey, look, I need you to get inside Pepe's head," that's what it's gonna take against North Texas. Because you see it, like they're the best offensive team in the league. They got the top 2 goal scorers in the league. They have a bunch of young talent around the league, but you're gonna have to get in their head, and you're gonna have to slow the game down. You cannot let North Texas get into a rhythm. And and I think this is the best team. South Georgia Tormenta is the best defensive squad in the league. They can slow them down tremendously. I forgot how the last game went against them, but that's my thing. What do you think they have to do, Ira?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the thing for South Georgia is probably to give up attacking a little bit with your with kind of wingbacks and basically keeping people home, because you almost have to man mark Pepe, and like maybe you just have to like put Phelps on Pepe and then put someone who's a little bit quicker on Ronaldo Damas, because I think Pepe is very smart, but I do think Damas is a little bit quicker. So you might have to just try and man mark them and just make sure that they're covered and make sure that they don't get the service, which could be really frustrating, right? These are young kids who, if they don't get the ball and, they feel this, hand on their back all the time, not pushing, just saying, hey, I'm here, you're not going to get away from me. That's probably what they have to do. So, we'll see. It's going to be, I think that's the match of the weekend. I mean, that's the match that, all 3 of these games on Saturday are all kick off at the same time, but that's the one that I'm going to be watching live if I can. So,
oh yeah, most definitely.
So very quickly, the standings after Week 16 and the points per game is still North Texas SC at the top with 2.2 points per game. That's really amazing, quite frankly. South Georgia Tormenta losing 2 in a row is now at 1.79 points, which means that the Chattanooga Red Wolves, should they win and South Georgia lose, they will be in a virtual dead heat. TFC 2 at 1.47 points per game is right behind Chattanooga. In fact, if Chattanooga loses and TFC gets a draw, TFC ends up in third. So just super duper tight. And basically all the way down to Forward Madison in 8th place at 1.19. All of those teams are basically within 4 points of each other on a points per game basis. But Richmond and OCB still under 1 point per game and struggling. With that, let's go to some fan questions. It's first question is, who is the best team in the league right now?
Whew.
So let's say this. So Chattanooga, their last 5 games, and they have not lost since May 18th. So let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. Chattanooga has not lost since May 18th. Their last 5 games, they've won 2 and drawn 3. Every other team has at least one loss. The only other team that maybe you could say is still the best team in the league is North Texas, because they're 3-1-1 now. They still have only one loss, but those 3 wins. So, interestingly, it means that they've only in the last 5 games, North Texas has only gotten one more point than Chattanooga, actually. So, which I think is kind of interesting. Yeah, I still have to go with North Texas. So as the first best team. So I guess that makes the Red Wolves my second best team. How about you, Elliot? Do you think maybe that's switched, or is there someone else who's kind of?
I think it. I'll say this. I think about out of the top. I go top 5. North Texas, Tormenta, Chattanooga, Toronto, and Lansing. The top 5 teams in your standings, point your game. If you were to put them in the championship, how would each team do? North Texas will be probably in playoff position. The second best team, oddly enough, I'm putting South Georgia. Granted, they lost the last 2, but outside of that, they've been the best defensive team. They have enough creative talent to where if it's needed, they can create those extra chances. And I mean, they're a stable team in the franchise. I think, Chattanooga has been on a great run, but I think they just – they've been in a good run of form. There's still major problems that I think gets glossed over when you're winning that shows up when you're losing,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so I think, stable team throughout, I think, is South Georgia and North Texas. So I think the top 2 teams in the standing are probably the best 2 teams in the league.
Okay. All right. Next question. Is the refereeing affecting the game to the point where something should be said? Well, I think something has been said, because apparently Nate Miller has contacted the league about the officiating. I don't know what could be said. Do you think, Elliot? I mean, obviously, protests to the professional refereeing organization. I mean, I don't even know. Oh, he's taking out his notepad. He's writing a note. So Elliot is showing us. Oh, VAR. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Video assistant.
Yeah, look. This is the thing, man. If you're gonna have VAR at MLS, just bring it to the rest of the leagues. Like, I can understand that bringing it to USL League 2 because it's mixed between pro and amateur. But when it's professional, just treat the championship in League One the same. Just bring VAR. Like we said earlier, it's not hard to set up because you can have, all these commentators commentating out of ESPN office in Connecticut or Orlando, wherever the heck they have the office at. You can set up a VAR office, have, 3 or 4 referees watching, paying attention to each game. Because I think outside of one weekend this year, you haven't had 5 games going on at once. You had 3 or 4. So you can set up the office, have referees viewing the game, make sure we get the right calls, call in these guys, set it up that way, and it's done, it's proper, it's safe. So you're not worrying about, this referee has made this horrible decision. You have VAR there to set it up.
Right.
Just to do it that way.
Yeah, and really probably just for the 4 match-changing decisions, right? So penalties and red cards and maybe poor identity, and I don't remember what the other one was, but anyway. But basically the same thing as they do in Major League Soccer.
Exactly.
So there is a cost to that, obviously, but it might be worth it to avoid some of the angst that players, coaches, and fans get now. So another question, I think this one came from Jason, who I believe might be listening right now, but was not able.
Hi, Jason. I've replaced you for this episode.
Which player who is not getting consistent playing time could help out another team? He suggests maybe Steven St. Duke, Bermudez, or Delgado, or someone else. So I would argue with this one. I would take Bermudez off this, because he hasn't been starting, but he's gotten on the pitch almost every time, and he's been an impact player almost every time he's on the pitch for Greenville. So I would take him off the table. You have anyone who you think could basically switch teams and make an instant impact on them, and outside of a Pepe or Ronaldo Damas? I mean, let's stick to the 6 independent teams. How would we do that?
Yeah. I think if you put, let's see, if you put St. Duca on Richmond, it will help out a lot because I feel like St. Duca will fill in our hole at one of the winger positions. Because I feel like that's been a bleeding hole for us. We don't know who to put in that left wing position, and it kind of leads to a domino effect of other positions because we're taking a striker and putting them there. So that I'm trying to think who else. I don't Stephen. Well, no, BD gets a lot of playing time. I'm trying to think who else doesn't get a lot of playing time that can really help out.
Yeah, I mean that was something that I was trying to think about. Is these are I think St. Duke and Delgado are interesting ones. There's not many other players who I would say probably have been starters and then whose playing time has gone down. So
yeah, I mean St. Duke is probably the obvious example because he started the first game and you haven't heard a peep from him since.
yeah, I mean, well, he's scored a few goals and been involved with some play occasionally off the bench, but yeah, it hasn't been consistent. I think he could help you guys. I think that if Steve St. Duke went to you guys or Greenville, he would make an instant impact because I think he does have a little bit more of a goal scoring, adeptness than some of the players that you guys have now, like a Chin, and because you guys don't have a natural striker, it seems, and you guys kind of need more of a striker kind of person. And Delgado next to Gallardo, ooh, that could actually be an interesting 10 combination.
It would be lovely. I just wanted to score goals, man. That's all I want.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's all I want.
So Steven Hernandez, our friend Steven, who I believe is watching on YouTube right now as we record, he says that he wants a possession is a trash stat T-shirt. So this comes from Jason. This comes from Jason a couple of weeks ago, who said possession is a trash stat. My response to Jason and to everyone else is, it's not a trash stat. It's just descriptive. It's not a stat that, like, if you win the possession battle, it doesn't mean that you'll win the game, but it does describe the game and what happened during the game. And so what's interesting is that if a team has 60% possession and the other team ends up winning, then it's probably that one team was playing a possession type of game, the other team was playing counterattack or high pressure, and wants the other team to have the ball and just presses forward. So anyway, that's what I'd like to do. I think a better stat is probably possession in the final third, right? So looking at how much you've possessed in the final third.
Yeah, I mean it's the same thing in football about like time of possession. Like it's a useless stats, but people use it to the argument when they're winning. Like Richmond, for instance, when we were winning, I was using possession every which way, and now that we're losing, I'm like, oh, don't pay attention to that. It doesn't matter. I think possession, like you said, helps when you're in the final third because that's when you score your opportunities. I think also possession in the opposite third is also an interesting stat because that shows you how a team is building out of the back versus if they're just kicking the ball long. But yeah, if y'all guys do make a possession as a useless stat shirt, let me know because I will be the first one to buy it.
I think Steven's already gotten the first one. We'll tell you what, we'll ship it out at the same time, so we won't know.
Great.
All right. So, Elliot, thanks very much for coming on the show again. Really appreciate it. Where can people connect with you?
They can follow me. My personal Twitter is Yogimclovin, and you can also follow the podcast at River City 93 and go check out our podcast. Like, view, and subscribe. Leave us some reviews. We're trying to build our brand out here.
You got to do it, especially if you're a fan of USL League One and especially if you're a fan of the Richmond Kickers. Definitely have to subscribe to that. Great interviews, as good breakdowns of all of the Richmond Kickers games in much more detail than we do on this show, which is more of an overview kind of show where Elliot's podcast is much more specific. I can be found at Ira Jersey. Jason, who, believe me, he is around. He just can't be on the show, but he is an integral part of it. He can be found at Home Sweet Soccer on Twitter. Thank you for listening. Please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts, and check out bgn.fm for other great soccer podcasts and written content covering USL League One, USL Championship, USL League Two, NWSL, and much more. Thanks to our sponsor, Golden Gold Press, the best choice to get your custom shirts, hats, mugs, and other items for yourself or your organization. Check out their amazing products at a fraction of the price of other places at goldengoalpress.com. And thanks to Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier of MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. And once again, Elliot, thanks very much for being on the pod tonight.
No problem, man. Also, remember, possession sucks and we need VAR.
There you go. Thanks for listening to League One Fun. Have a great week.